Hey, good afternoon. Rebecca here, coming to you from Austin, Texas. I'm so excited that you're with me today. So we have been on a series that I launched a few weeks ago called RC Business Series, and we are on week 3 today. But if you missed week one we talked about that reinvention process from employee to entrepreneur. Week 2, we talked about the fundamentals, the one-on-ones of starting a business and making sure that knowledge is power when you do that. And all of those are available free to you, either on my author Facebook page, which you're on right now, or you can go to RebeccaContreras.com, click on resources, and I've got a series of trainings and tools available to you there. Including this new business series, there's other tools available. So I want to do whatever I can to share my knowledge with all those potential future business owners or existing business owners that are working to reshift and recalculate on where you are. So today I wanted to focus the time that we have here in the next 20 minutes on week 3, which is going to be focused on partnership or go solo. I'm going to really hone in on the advantages and the disadvantages of partnership and talk to you a little bit about what that looks like. So before I do that, I'm all about data. So I wanted to share some key data with you, important stats. So balancemoney.com is a great piece that I tend to read from time to time that talks about everything from money management to business and entrepreneur tips. And they did a study, and I wanted to share the metrics with you that came out of that study. These are American-owned businesses. So did you know that 70% of businesses in America are what they call sole proprietor-owned businesses? This is where you go on business for yourself and you're solely owned. And 30% are what they call partnerships, which means more than one owner. It could be a partnership with one owner or a multi-partnership. Unfortunately, the really dismal stat here that I hate to share but is true around this data is that more than 70% of those partnerships fail. And they fail for a variety of reasons, but I'm going to share with you the top 6 reasons why business partnerships fail in America. The number one reason is mixing personal relationships and family relationships with business, and going into business with people you know very, very well in personal friendships or in family. And although I'm sure there are some out there that have been successful, the data shows that they fail usually because that's the number one reason. Either you know, they trusted each other and they don't, or it ruins relationships. And listen, I've had personal experience around this, and I know firsthand that sometimes when you're mixing those family and the personal friendship relationships with business, it can start off really great and be a great idea, and then somewhere down the line when money is involved. And isn't that the catch on pretty much everything? Money changes everything. So that's the number one reason business partnerships fail. Number 2 is there's an unequal commitment with partners. So you have a partner who's fully in, all committed, and you have a partner who's not fully in and who's kind of just slacking off or coasting. And there's not an equal commitment to the work. Number 3 is lack of success. The lack of success in a business. Maybe there was a strategy or a business plan and it didn't work out, and then it fails, then that ruins partnerships and they fall apart. Number 4 is the differences in the value system. This is disastrous if you don't share values. I'll be talking about that later. The differences in the value system. So one partner has certain values, the other partner does not share in those values. Number 5, personality clashes. Doesn't personality clashes ruin a lot of things, where you have, personalities that don't sync and they don't complement one another? I call it different leadership styles, perhaps, that partners bring. And number 6, and the final one, is a failure of trust. Somewhere along the line, the partner loses trust in the other partner or vice versa. And it's really hard to gain trust once you've lost it. So if you're going to form a partnership, which I highly recommend you look at, I'm going to talk the next few minutes about the benefits of a partnership. Make sure that you are mindful of these 6 reasons they fail and guard yourself around that so that you put mechanisms in place to ensure that you have those firewalls up and you avoid that. Okay, so my business at Avant-Garde is a partnership. I have one partner. I started the business 13 years ago, had the idea to start a people process strategy firm that was all things sort of in a one-stop shop solution for clients, particularly government clients that had problems around HR, around strategy, that wanted business process work and what I call the consulting suite of solutions. And I went out and sought a partner. I wanted to make sure that I brought technology to the table, and I knew I didn't have the technology expertise. I brought the human capital expertise, but didn't have the technology expertise. So I brought a partner along that brought technology experience. And my partner is DC based. And through that partnership, we decided to form Avant-Garde, which ended up being a solution for people, process, strategy, and technology. Kind of the one-stop shop circular solution for organizations in need. And so I did form a partnership. The very first 7 years, 5 to 7 years, was very painful. I didn't know my partner very well. I mean, I had known him for several years, but I had not worked with him. Didn't really see him in action, so to speak. But nonetheless, good guy, good person, smart guy, and went into partnership. But had I probably known these tools and had this knowledge, I probably would have taken a little bit of a pause in terms of how quickly I formed that partnership, and also likely the percentage of work share that I agreed to give him. And you know, every single situation is going to be unique and different. You need to do what's right for you. I'm sharing with you my lessons and the practices that I employed and the lessons that I learned along the way through the hard knocks process, which is how humans tend to learn. But the beginning was tough. It was very painful. We weathered those storms. We worked through it. We chiseled. Similar to what you do in a marriage. You know, when you get into a marriage, you don't just throw your hands up and say, oh, this isn't going to work, I'm done. You really work hard at the marriage. You work hard at the partnership. No difference. You work hard at the partnership and business, and you do your best to say, okay, where can we align? Where can we come together? We did that, and we weathered those storms for the first 7 years, and the latter of the years, in terms of where we are, has been very fruitful, and we just completed our 13th year in business, and the business is growing and thriving. We have 130 consultants strong now across multiple states. But in forming that partnership, that difficulty did happen for the first 7 years, and it was not easy, but we weathered it and we worked through it. We got some mediation, got some help. Decided on what we needed to do, and I'm going to share a little bit more about what we did to set ourselves up for success later. So I will tell you, it's so important that your partner, whoever you partner with, that they complement your capabilities. In my case, my partner brought the technology experience that I didn't bring. And even though I was the driver and the face of the business and the marketer of the business, he made it very clear early on, he does not know anything about marketing, he does not know anything about development, and but that he could be the good soldier to do what I call the background infrastructure work that I didn't want to do. So we complemented each other's skills. In the beginning, when we had no people, I was doing all the selling and all the marketing and all the branding and all the customer service outward face, and he was doing what I call the background, you know, getting our lawyer in place, getting our operating agreement in place, filing the taxes, dealing with, once we hired our employees' payroll, dealing with setting up the IT infrastructure, handling all the legal matters. So we came together in some complementary skill sets. Even though we were polar opposites in our approach, we did complement each other in our skill sets. So super important when you pick a partner to make sure that you are picking the right partner to complement your skill sets. And that value that your partner is going to bring will be realized, okay? So it's important to go in all in, knowing what I call with the eyes wide open, what you're going into when you're picking a partner, that you have a very strong operating agreement. If you missed week 2, last week we talked about the infrastructure and the importance of that operating agreement. You'll want to make sure and watch that. So I wanted to share with you 5 top benefits that I have personally witnessed and seen in my own business around partnership. Versus going solo. So number 1, you have someone you can trust. You have somebody that you rely on to carry the weight and to carry it with you. Listen, starting a business is a very, very difficult journey. It's not for the faint at heart. It is difficult, it is heavy, sometimes it is overwhelming. And when you have a partner who can carry that with you, it makes it much more palatable because you have that partner. Number 2, it's you have somebody to bounce ideas off of. Certainly if you're a solo company, a sole proprietor, you can hire someone to strategize with, but when you have a partner, they are in it with you and you can meet, you can strategize, you can bounce ideas off of. Both of you guys can bring ideas to the table. Number 3, it is less of a financial burden I have found in my own business because someone's going to carry it with you. And instead of you leaving, you know, a good paying job to start your business and starting from scratch, instead of you having to carry payroll once you start hiring people, if something happens and you have a slow time, a month or 2 or 6, you can have that partner to carry that financial burden with you so you don't carry it alone. So that's also important. Remember, when you carry the financial burden with a partner, you also win when you guys win together and share in those profits. Number 5, if you are a lead or a CEO like I am and have to be in the driver's seat, as do I, you want to take a break sometimes. And when you're in business for yourself as a one-person shop, you don't always get that break because you have to be on point in order to continue the business, vacations, sick days, holidays. You know, when you have a partner, you guys can share schedules. You can alternate and say, hey, I'm going to be out for a week. Can you cover for me? Or, you know, vice versa. And so you have somebody that you can delegate to. And if they're mature and they can obviously, they're in business with you or they wouldn't be mature, number 1, but you can delegate that responsibility. So those are the 5 benefits or outcomes of what I see. There are many others, but those are the top 5 for me that I have found. I also want to talk about the 5 qualities of a partner that you need to look at. So qualities in a partner are super important. It's so important to look at qualities that you aspire to ensure that your partner have. You know what your qualities are, you know what you bring to the table, but the other person has to demonstrate qualities. And there are about 10 different qualities that I could talk to, but I'm going to focus on the top 5 for me and my business. Ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, number 1 is shared values. You have to share values. What values am I talking about? I'm talking about trust, transparency, honesty, integrity, faith. For me, it was a big deal. Faith is a big value. Self-awareness and ownership. Having a value of being a diligently hard worker and making sure that you value hard work. There's nothing more frustrating than being in partnership with someone that, you know, you're working your ass off literally, and then they're slacking off because they don't share that hard work value. I am really thankful. My partner in DC is one of the hardest people I've ever worked with. He will put in 20 hours a day if needed and work really hard in order to ensure that he's carrying his weight. And it's so important to have a partner that works really hard. Okay, so number 1, shared values, equalities. Number 2, you want someone who's going to complement and augment your skills. You don't want to have somebody just like you, because if you're just alike, you're going to probably do this. Now, if you're opposite, you're probably going to do this. But if you're just alike, you're not going to bring complementary skill sets to the table. And you need, you know, we can't do it all. We have gaps. So we need someone to fill those gaps in complementary skill sets. So instead of competing with you constantly, they're going to bring complementary skill sets. There's nothing worse than having somebody compete with you. It's exhausting. Number 3, somebody who's going to bring value add to the business. This could be monetary. This could be a network. They bring their own network. They bring their own money. They bring their own relationships. They bring their own skill sets. For example, I mentioned in me, I am really good with people. I'm a marketer, I'm a brander, I'm a growth person. I love getting out there and meeting clients and interfacing with them and growing the company. My partner doesn't like to do any of that, but he doesn't mind doing all the CPA stuff, the legal stuff, the tax stuff, the contracts, all the mundane of reading 30-page contracts and making sure they're okay and they're not going to put us in jeopardy. So he loves that stuff. So complementary skill sets, okay? Number 4, trust and transparency is so important in the relationship. When you go into partnership, you might as well get married to your second husband or your second wife. Look at it as your second husband or your second wife. Would you go into a marriage without trust and transparency? Absolutely not. So you can't do it in partnership either. Number 5, someone who's committed for the long haul. When everything hits the fan and you're struggling and you have your downs and you've hit brick walls, someone that's not going to throw their hands up and say, okay, I'm out of here, or, you know, you screwed it up, we're done. Someone's going to come alongside and say, okay, yes, we screwed up, but what can we do to fix it? Let's figure it out. Let's figure out the path forward. Commitment and resolve to the long haul is so important. So those are the 5 qualities of a partner I think are super essential to your success as you form that business and or partnership. Now, this is super important when you're looking at a partner and the advantages of a partner. Remember, you are the idea behind your business. If it's your idea, like it was mine, I wanted to start a human capital strategy and people firm. I knew I was good at it. I knew I could get business. People trusted me in the industry. I was known as an expert and I knew I wanted to start a business. So I brought the idea to the table. It's so important if you're the idea generator and you are the brain behind building the business that you give yourself majority work share. What does that mean? You don't want to go into a 50-50 partnership. You want to maintain 51%. 51% over 49% or 60% over, you know, the balance of that, 40% or 70% or 30%. Some sort of majority ownership. Why do you want majority ownership in a partnership when you are the idea person? You want to maintain control. Maintaining control in a business, in a partnership is so important, especially if you are the idea generator and you are the visionary behind the business, as am I with Avant-Garde. You have to have majority control. I am thankful that I do have majority control. I made sure that I had majority control. I crafted out the role of CEO for myself and said, this is the role I'm going to play because I know I can be good and successful. And this is the role I'd like you to play, and obviously have a dialogue around that and an exchange, and your partner has to agree to that. But if they see the value in you and the fact that you're the idea person, they are going to see that it's important for you to be the driver, right? They're not going to fight you on it. Well, no, I want 50-50. It's not fair. Well, life's not fair. Life's never fair. And, you know, don't look at it as fairness. Look at it as what makes the most sense strategically for where you are at this juncture in starting your business and what makes the most sense for you as a business owner. Take care of yourself in being that business owner and that idea generator. So number 2, have a rock solid operating agreement. You got to have a rock solid operating agreement where you can say, these are the terms and conditions of how we're going to operate. In my operating agreement, I made very sure that I was in complete control of the business in decision making. Now, that doesn't mean you're not going to engage your partner in decision making. You would be a tyrant if you didn't engage him in decision making. You want to govern and lead with collaboration and engagement and all the things that are going to make your business very successful. But when you maintain control and you say in the operating agreement, I'm going to be 51% owner or 60% owner or whatever ownership you want and you deserve, and these are the terms of how I'm going to operate. If we come to an impasse, yes, I will run things by you. In my case, I set a threshold of financial decisions. I'm going to make day-to-day operating decisions up to, say, $5,000. If it goes above $5,000, then I will talk to you about it. Otherwise, I'm the CEO. I make the decisions and anything above this threshold. So set a threshold in your operating agreement. But when you come to that decision point where you're in impasse, And I could give you at least 20 examples in the last 13 years where my partner and I have been at impasse because we are polar opposites in personality. Complete opposites, and we complement each other's skill sets, but we're very opposite. We're opposite in how we lead. We're opposite in how we engage. You know, we're opposite generationally. He's much older than I am. You know, culturally we're opposites, and that's okay because opposites attract. And again, my partner and I complement each other's skill sets, but you got to be complementary of each other's opposites, right? But the reason you want majority control and you want that decision-making authority is if you can't come to a decision in that partnership, your operating agreement very clearly says you as a CEO and majority owner have the final say. So there have been situations in my own business where I've had to kind of put that stake in the ground and say, I appreciate your input. I appreciate it. We can't come to agreement. So I'm going to go ahead and make the decision, and trust me, it's a good decision. And if it's not a good decision and it doesn't benefit us, then I will reap the consequence of it not being a good decision and take ownership of that. But if it is a good decision and we grow, then you, as my partner, will reap the consequence of it being a good decision. So you want that majority control. You want to engage and collaborate, but maintain the majority control in your business. So those are the 3 top essentials to consider in terms of what you want to do when you're partnering and how important it is. I want to recap today. We've been talking about partnering versus going solo. And I've given you some really good data out of balancemoney.com that's super important. I gave you 6 reasons why partnerships fail. And then I gave you 5 reasons why you should have the qualities that you should pick to aspire to pick that right partner. So listen, wherever you are at the juncture of your business, I celebrate you, I congratulate you, but let's do the things we need to do to set you up for success so that, like I have done, you can scale and grow your business. So again, it's Rebecca coming to you from Austin. If you missed week 1 and 2, it'll be posted on my website at RebeccaContreras.com. You want to subscribe to the website and join me to be available to get all the free resources I provide. None of them are fee-based. You can get any resource you want for free, but you also want to stay in touch. And join me on week 4 when we talk about branding and scaling in terms of branding. So I hope to see you next Thursday, same time, same place, here on Facebook Live, 12 p.m. Central. If you enjoyed this resource and video, share it out with your network, and I'll see you next week. Take care.